I came to Birmingham when I was in the 10th grade. I could not demonstrate. I did not have the emotional fortitude to be able to do that. The violence or even the simple things, i.e., somebody spitting on me or calling me names, I just didn't feel I was suited for that kind of situation. So education was best for me in terms of why I got involved in civil rights.
When Dr. King came here in 1962, one of the things he talked about was getting the schools integrated. And so here I was, 5 years old, about to start first grade, and Dad said that he thought, well, why not my son? I've been talking to people trying to get them to volunteer their children to be part of this desegregation movement, and he thought, well, I've got a son who's about to start school. So how can I encourage all these other people to do this if I'm not willing to do it myself? I'm glad that this all happened when I was 6 instead of maybe high school. It's not like I was looking over my shoulder everywhere I went. I didn't understand those things. And fortunately, at the age of 6, most of the children have not been taught that they're not supposed to like people who are different.
My parents were really active in what was going on in Tuskegee, so when the opportunity arose in their children being part of the integration movement in the state of Alabama, my parents volunteered me. I was going to be a senior and I thought I'd have an opportunity to be that super stud athlete. Unbeknown to me at the time, there was also a plan afoot by the whites in town that once the black kids came in, they would withdraw their kids. We wouldn't have enough to have an athletic program anyway because there was only 12 of us.
We were to integrate on September 3rd, which was the Tuesday, that was the day after Labor Day in 1963. But Governor Wallace kept all of the schools in Huntsville closed, the ones that were going to integrate. It was my father and me walking up to the school, walking up to the officer. He said, no one is going to school today under the orders of Governor Wallace. And that was pretty much it. There was not a lot of discussion to be had. Just turn around and go back home.
First day we came, or I came to Ramsey, Governor Wallace was standing there at the door and he blocked the door, and we said a few things. My attorney was there and we turned around and left. The only thing that bothered me going to Ramsey, walking up the steps to Ramsey and those houses across the street, thinking that would be a good place for a sniper or something such as that.
For Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we were turned away that week. And then on the 6th, the governor actually sent state troopers to keep the school closed. They were very polite, but very firm. They made it very clear that we were not going to go into that school, nor was anybody else. On the following Monday, the 9th, is when we were able to integrate.
We were at Notasulga sometime around the first of the year. That was our first day to attempt to go there. Then Mayor Ray let us know in order to admit 6 other students in the school would create a fire hazard. So as a result, you're not going to be able to enter this particular school today. There was a freelance photographer. He slipped on the back of the bus. That was at the point in time the state troopers boarded the bus from the rear and began to assault the photographer. They were beating him with billy clubs and cattle prods and all kinds of good things. This is the first time I really heard a grown man kind of moan and cry and beg and plead. As we were pulling off in the bus, we could see not only the state troopers, but some townspeople were taking their liberties to punch him. That was probably the scariest time I had.
I was very familiar with segregation. The only difference was in Birmingham, I guess it was more obvious in terms of right in your face sort of a thing. But even at a much younger age, I visited some of my grandparents in Bullock County. We had a pet dog, and the police drove by and shot the dogs apart. Now, me personally, I'm a pet lover, but seeing that and having to live that was very troubling to me. And to be honest with you, even today, I just don't necessarily like police. That was the kind of experience that one has, and you'll never forget that.
In a matter of a couple of days, we were back at Notasulga. The bus was escorted every day from Tuskegee to Notasulga, led by 2 U.S. Marshals and one state trooper car in front. And then we were told one weekend that the school was burned, and as a result, we would not be able to go to school there. The week prior to the school burning, someone took enough time to go and pluck flowers out of the garden or off the countryside and make a wreath in the front doorway of the school. And that was kind of one of those things that you think about, death and burials and funerals and kind of thing. You kind of thought that was kind of a veiled threat.
The need and the desire was so great. I think that's what kept the folks on our side, that's what kept them going. It was about making the statement that, we're tired of this. We're tired of being treated like second or third class citizens, but we worked within the system to change the system.